All right, so I want to listen to this clip from the facility with James Jones, former Packer, being on here, and let's hear what they have to say.
Is their 4 losses are to teams with a combined record of only 5 losses. They've lost to the Lions twice, the Eagles once, and the Vikings. The Vikings only got 2 losses, the Lions only got 1 loss, and the Eagles got 2 losses. So their losses are good. However, James, their losses, they got good losses, but they still got losses, James. Hey, have you lost Super Bowl faith in the Packers? Here's why I asked that. In order to get to the Super Bowl, you've been to 1, you've won 1. I think, E, you've been to 3, if I'm not mistaken. You've won 1. Shady, you've been to 2, you've won 2. So y'all know it up here. In order to get to the Super Bowl, they're likely going to have to beat the Vikings, the Eagles, and or the Lions. You got to beat all 3 of them, at least 2 of them. They've lost to them all, and 1 of them twice. Is your Super Bowl faith, James, your Super Bowl faith, is it lost in the Packers?
Let me guess. I'm going to say he says no.
Watching that game last night, no. Watching that game last night, I feel like the Packers can compete with any team in the National Football League.
That's a fact.
Now, yesterday I said the way the Packers win this game, they have to start fast. They should have took the football and they should have went down there and tried to score to go up on the Detroit Lions to make them truly, truly one-dimensional. They didn't. You had 3 completions in the first half. You went into halftime down 10.
Come on, man.
Right? We did not get Josh Jacobs going in that game until the very last drive before the first half, and we went down the football field and scored a touchdown. But watching that football game, we dominated the trenches on both sides of the football. I didn't come out of that game like, dang, the Detroit Lions, we don't want to see them again. No, I came out of that game. If we see the Detroit Lions again, this game could go either way. I believe the Packers are still a really good football team. Have they lost to some good football teams? Sure, but I still think this team could go out here and compete for a Super Bowl with what they have. You get Jair back, you get your best receiver back in Romeo Doubs, I believe they will be just fine. But I did not walk out of that game like, man, we shouldn't be on the field with Detroit. I did feel like that when they came to Lambeau. The game was closer than it should have been in Lambeau. They dominated us in Lambeau. I didn't feel like that yesterday.
I agree 100% there with James Jones's take. I think it's a solid opinion there. Because, I mean, it was a 3-point game. You know, the game could have gone either way. The Packers, if they face off against the Lions in the playoffs in Detroit, then the Packers can win. And part of me thinks that Jordan Love and the Packers won't lose 3 straight to the Lions. I feel like the Packers would win the next time they play. I just think that, I mean, we saw how close it was. And, yes, over here.
You lost twice to them, though. I mean, like, you got the same division. We beat y'all at home and at our house. Like,
whoop them twice a year, too. So what you talking about, Shady?
yo, my man.
Take it easy.
Man, relax now, man. Kudos to the Lions, dog.
Good morning, Frank. Good morning. It's love.
You know
all I'm saying is, like, I still think they could go to the Super Bowl because they got that type of talent. And with them, they turn it off and on, right? First half, they couldn't find it. Second half, they start rolling. I said the biggest part of this game is going to be Josh Jacobs getting 25 touches. Did he get it? Nope. He didn't get it, and they didn't win. They got to go through him. And it's okay, because my thing is, if the running game ain't working, he can throw the ball, because Jordan Love is nice. But the best offensive weapon they got is Jacobs. I think if they can go through them, they can potentially get there. But they did lose to the Lions twice. So don't act like that didn't happen.
Yeah, and for me, I haven't lost faith in him, man. I like Jordan Love, right? I really do.
Here we have Emmanuel Sanders. I haven't seen him on the show before, but I guess he's on today.
Who like this? I like the way he plays the quarterback position. I don't like that he only threw 28 passes last night or something like that. But maybe it's because they weren't on the field, because they weren't handing it to Josh Jacobs as well, you know? But this Packers team is a good team, dog.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy watching them play. I think they got a young receiving core.
Yes,
I think they're going to be a wild card team. And if they get in the playoffs, if they get hot, I think they can shock some teams.
I agree with that. I agree with everything y'all saying, but I've definitely lost Super Bowl faith. I'll be honest. There's some perks to being a backup in the NFL. Hi, backup. Like, y'all all starters. The problem with being a starter is sometimes you're too far in the forest to see the trees. You focused on winning your route. You focused on winning the game. Shady focused on being a rushing leader. James focused on winning Super Bowls, leading the league, receiving touchdowns. I'm watching both teams. I'm scouting because I'm like, yo, are we actually going to win this game? As a backup, you don't have to be as eagerly invested in your numbers because you're probably not going to play. I say that to say, I have the ability to realize, the Packers are a good team. They're not a Super Bowl team. It reminds me of the team I played with in Philadelphia with Shady in 2013. We were a good team, but I knew there were levels to this. We were a good team. We won 7 in a row. We went 7-1 with Nick Foles at the helm. Nick Foles had 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. We finished the year 10-6. Vic started 3-5. Foles went in. We were a good team. But because I was a backup, I was able to say, you know what? Shady's cold. Macklin's cold. Jack is cold. Vic is cold. But you know who else is cold? Earl Thomas. He's pretty good. Cam Chancellor. He's pretty good. Marshawn Lynch. He's pretty good. Richard Sherman. He happens to be okay. Bobby Wagner. He's pretty good. So if we see them, though we're good and though we're competitive, we're not that good.
Right.
I can say that. Shady couldn't say that because Shady probably thinks, yo, we can beat anybody on any given Sunday, as he should. He's a Hall of Famer. But I'm scouting everybody because I got extra time on my hands. I got to watch the Seahawks. I got to watch the Eagles. I got to watch the Cowboys. So, James, I say that to say the Packers are good.
Yeah.
But they're not Lions good. They're not Eagles good. They're good, though.
Really quick. Watching that game last night, that's what you took out of that game?
1,000%. Because when I think about it like this.
That's a banged up Lions defense.
And James, remember, though.
It's a lot of dudes running free in our secondary, too, because we missing some.
Remember, though, Jay.
Tell him, James. Tell him, James.
The Lions spotted the Packers because of Dan Campbell's ignorant 7 points at minimum, right? And say they didn't spot it to him. At least punt the ball.
That's how the Lions played all year.
But they don't usually go for it on their own 30. I respect going for it all the other time, sure. Do what you want to do. But when you go for it on your own 30, James, to me, that's a little wild. When I watched the game, clearly the Lions were better. The Packers are good. No doubt about it. The Packers are good.
They won, so they was better.
Clearly they are better. Like when we played, Shady, I don't know if you remember, it was 2014, the year after we went to the playoffs. It was 2014. We had to play the Cowboys, Seahawks, Cowboys, back-to-back weeks. That was when Jenkins got in a fight with Des Bryant before the game. We were good.
Yeah.
The Cowboys were better. Now, we were good enough to make it competitive. But the Cowboys had Zach Martin in their prime, Tyron Smith in their prime, DeMarco Murray was in his prime, Des Bryant was in his prime, Tony Romo was in his prime. We were good, so James was going to look close. But if you really look at it, they was going to beat us. The Packers are good. They're not beating the Eagles. Eagles only won by 5.
If the Packers play the Eagles, I think they're going to win the next time.
It looked close, but they're not beating the Eagles. It looks close. They're not beating the Lions.
I disagree. I disagree with you, and I can't disagree with you more.
You're 0-2.
Preach.
Your house, their house. Outside,
they beat us this year. It's a lot of teams that beat us our Super Bowl year. And when we got in the playoffs, we beat all them teams.
Oh,
and
yeah.
went to
Tell
their
them,
house. And went to the Falcons' house when they was 13.
Oh, he's getting me fired up.
And 3 with Matt Ryan on the MVP season and beat them by 20-plus points. And then we went to Chicago and beat them. And then we went to the Super Bowl and won that.
Yeah.
The Packers have a lot of talent on their football team. That game was a one-score football game. It came down to a fourth
what you tell me
down
yesterday, James,
conversion.
the majority of NFL games, you said
no doubt.
58%.
But
58% of games come down to one
And
score.
that is very true. And that's why coming out of that game, I'm not coming out of that game like, dang, if we see Detroit again, we can't beat them. Or if we see the Eagles again, we can't beat them. The Packers can beat any team in them playoffs.
Sunday.
You can. But do you think they would? Of course you can. The Packers can beat them. But do you think the Packers can do this? After seeing them lose, you really think the Packers can, say first round they match up against the Eagles. Got to beat them. Then say second round, say the Vikings upset the Falcons. So say the second round, you got to see the Vikings. Then say the last round, you got to see the Lions. You really think the Packers can beat Detroit, then beat the Vikings, then beat the Eagles, then go to the Super Bowl and beat Pat?
This is a get back
Yeah.
tour now. Knock it off. Seriously, yo. They beat gonna beat them again.
That's the same.
I mean, they brought up the 2010 Packers. I bet if you would have asked, people around this time in that season, will the Packers could they beat this team, this team, this team, and this team to win a Super Bowl? You'd say, the odds are probably, not great. But I mean, it happens. It happens.
Same for every team. That's the same for every team. The Eagles got to do that same thing.
But here's the thing. What did I say?
Yeah, 100% agree with James Jones there. And I think it's funny. You can't see it here because I can't put this on the screen because it gets, copyright struck if I show the actual clip. But at the bottom, it says Green Bay 0-4 versus Detroit, Philadelphia, and Minnesota. And I think they're trying to show, against some better teams, the Packers are 0-4. But, I mean, you could do this with every team in the NFL. You could take, like, the Broncos and their 5 losses and say the Broncos are 0-5 versus these teams, 0-5. I don't know. I don't know about that.
I say it has to happen when you win a Super Bowl, right?
A
little bit of luck. All right? Y'all need a lot of luck, James.
A lot?
A lot. To go on the road. To go on the road.
All right, I've reacted to a lot of different videos today, and there are a few Packers defenders here or there, and I understand the doubters because when you lose, that's what's going to happen. Even if it's a 3-point game, the doubters come out. They, look down on the Packers. The Packers can't be good teams, all that kind of stuff. But the Packers can beat good teams. And maybe this is me coping as a Packers fan, but the more I hear people doubting the Packers, I'm like, man, this is going to get this team fired up. And the Packers couldn't go all the way last year. They lost to the Niners, but part of me likes where the Packers are right now. You know, people are doubting them. People think they can't beat the Lions. They can beat the Lions. They didn't these 2 times. So, I mean, it feels to me like the Packers are being set up for another, you know, underdog run, just like in 2010. And I don't hate it. I don't hate it. As I said, am I being am I coping because I'm upset that we lost yesterday? It's possible. I don't know, but tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's a terrible position to be completely doubted once again for this Packers team to enter the season where they were sort of on top of the world and it felt like, they're a team that can beat anyone. They've lost a few, but I don't mind them going in as the underdogs. Anyways, those are my thoughts on this video. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.